Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW Alternative Positive Talk Radio. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It's my joy to be on there as usual. I just have a great time being on there. We'll bring Mr. Rye on. We were just talking about Easter and all this other stuff that goes on. How you doing, Mr. Rye?
I'm doing fine, Reverend Harry. I must say I will be seeing Dr. Tony Hempfield tomorrow. I have like in Louisiana, we say I have a crook in my neck. But anyway, it's been pretty no quality sleep for the last couple of nights. So I'm gonna have the doctor look at me and see if he can help me out.
Well, I have one too. I have a shoulder that I had an injury on, and then 45,000 miles a year on driving. So my right shoulder, I go to the chiropractor every week, so to try to get mine fixed up. So I understand the shoulder issue and sleeping. I really do.
Yes, indeed. It's been tough.
Yeah. All right. So you want to?
Well, I just want to say that last Thursday, which is still available on the Urban Forum Northwest podcast, which is on 24/7, I had Congressman Hank Johnson from Georgia, DeKalb, Georgia, on, and he's on the House Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
And he's also on the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee, along with our own Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland. But he informed me on Thursday that he had introduced a bill to bring a code of ethics to the United States Supreme Court. And so far, he has 80 co-sponsors of that legislation. And it's primarily aimed at the conduct of Supreme Court Justice's wife, Virginia Jenny Thomas, belonging to these right-wing organizations, but more seriously than that, her involvement in the attempt to overthrow the United States government. Wow. She was an active participant. She had the documentation, and her husband, Clarence Thomas, voted against this information being released because he probably knew that Jenny Thomas's text messages to Mark Meadows would be surfacing, because she said she discussed this issue with her best friend, and her not having many friends, she had to be referring to Clarence Thomas. So Congressman Hank Johnson is going to make an attempt to remedy that. But you figure this way, that if Republicans want to turn a blind eye, nothing nasty about land folks, but that to disregard what was happening at the U.S. Capitol. And the thing about it is that if they would have caught any of them, I think they would have did some harm to them, including Matt Gaetz and Mark Meadows, and you say they want to hang Mike Pence, the vice president. And Clarence Thomas's wife played an active role in trying to overthrow the United States government. But unfortunately, in this country, some people get treated better than other people for more worse offenses. Now, a brother get 2 years in prison for stealing the Snickers out to 7-Eleven, but these folks can attempt to overthrow the government, tell a judge, well, Your Honor, I can't go to court right now because my best friend's getting married in Mexico. I'm in the wedding. I need to make the wedding. Oh, yeah, go right ahead. And those are the kind of mindset of a lot of the folks who've been appointed to the bench by the Trump administration. Anything is just all out white privilege. There's nothing else you could really call it. It is white privilege to the nth degree. And so I'm happy to hear that my good friend from DeKalb, Georgia, Congressman Hank Johnson, has filed that legislation, as needs to be done. And you really have to worry about where half of the American people are when, you talk about how sacred this democracy is, what the Constitution means. And that's the guiding force behind liberty and justice for all in this country. But then as soon as some right-wingers mostly white, do it, it's all right, it's acceptable. They didn't like the elections, they spread the slide, and they bought into it. And I mean, they came ready to go to war. That's how they came. And it's just one black Capitol police officer said, when the question was raised, what if they'd been black? He said they never would have made it to the first step. They'd have been dead before they got there. But it's just completely different altogether, even in the way they were treated. You have a situation where the governor of Maryland, who is a Republican, had the Maryland National Guard on standby, but the Trump guys did not call for any help. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And I think the other thing is now I'm beginning to see why the Saudis can do anything they want to do and not even be held to account, not even by the Democrats. For 9/11, 15 of 19 hijackers were Saudis. There was no retaliation whatsoever for Saudi. And then we find out that Trump's son-in-law has gone over to Saudi and got with the prince and got him $2 billion.
Right.
Okay. So we know what's going on. And I'm sure that Donald Trump had the same agreement worked out with Vladimir Putin. That's why you heard people like Tucker Carlson on Fox and the Fox song, why are we not helping Russia? Why are we helping Ukraine? This kind of stuff, and yet it's still acceptable. If a black person or another person of color said that, they would be called treasonous. But
right.
Because some people have privilege in this country, they can say and do anything they want to do. I have to think back to the most recent incident where the cop shot the African immigrant brother in the back of the head over not having a registration for his car.
Right.
So, and you think about the policewoman that killed Devontae Wright. Will she get 6 months or 2 years in prison for killing that brother? So I'm saying everything is skewed in favor of whites. And I mean, that's all this is. I can't say it any other way. Unless you're poor now, you're in a different category.
Well, now if you're poor, you're in the category with the Negroes.
Yeah, now if you're poor, it's a different. If you don't have access, you're in a different category altogether. Yeah,
but they don't understand that because they vote against their own self-interest.
Yeah. Well, for the number of women that voted for Donald Trump after all the revelations and how he was uncovered about him sexually harassing all these different women, and folks voted for him anyway. It's absolutely amazing.
But also, what's happening now is a lot of young white Republican women are running, and they're running on that same ticket. I mean, and I think that we have to really understand history because 50% of white women in the South owned slaves. So I mean, so that really is, this is an extrapolation of what has always happened in America, is that they're not, they absolutely organize against us, and right. I guess when you look at it, their spouses and husbands are Republicans, and so
but on Roe v. Wade, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine how women, especially our older women, they might have a different story because they're beyond childbearing age. But it's because even there's a clinic on Rainier at the South End in Renton, right before you get to the little Renton Shopping Center off Rainier. And when I see the folks out there protesting at this abortion clinic, it's always some men or some women that's too old to have children anyway. Okay, so and I'm thinking that I thought that between January 6th, this Roe v. Wade thing and all the other revelations that's coming out about the Trump administration would be enough to turn some people around. But all I'm saying is that I just hope that our folks get out and vote. Because every position matters, no matter if it's on the school board. You might have some people like jumping up talking about critical race theory. Critical race theory, they don't want the truth taught about the United States of America. That's what the problem is. And if you talk about slavery, some kids' feelings will be hurt. It's better for them to have their feelings hurt and know the truth than to grow up and be taught as an idiot. Because if you don't know, America is a very diverse country, and it got to be a lot more diverse since I was born. Because I remember the time that there were hardly anybody around here other than Asian people, Japanese, Chinese, black and white. And in Seattle, in my community, and especially at Garfield High School, there was a significant Jewish population, right? Because they had restrictive covenants where they couldn't buy homes in certain parts of the city. I know that in Hawthorne Hills, where Charles Royer used to live, they had a restrictive covenant there. Madison Park, everywhere they said you couldn't sell to a black, an Indian, an Asian, or a Jew, and that's where it was. And a lot of the blacks in the central area actually brought their property from Jewish people because they were able to move out to Mercer Island. That time in the 50s, they couldn't live in Seward Park. That's the way it just was. But thankfully, though, we had enough relationships so that we could be able to become homeowners. I recall one incident. Aki Carosa's family, they used to live right behind us on 30th and Spring. They lived on 31st. When they got ready to buy this house on 37th, the people refused to sell to him, but a good, well-meaning white gentleman bought the house and then sold it to him.
Oh yeah,
And
that has
so,
happened many times in Seattle. I've heard
yeah,
that story
yeah.
many times.
And I can also remember being a little boy in Louisiana too, where we had some people, and I know folks got very upset with the whites that helped the blacks down south because they were despised and treated worse than the black people themselves.
Oh yeah, sometimes
Yes,
their life was
indeed.
in danger. Sometimes their life was in danger also.
Exactly. So I know that I had a couple of uncles that got into a scuffle, and the white guy at the farm next to my grandfather's property made sure they got to the Texas border before the people found them. And they stayed in Houston for 25 years before they came back to that part of Louisiana. So, I mean, there are all kinds of stories like that that was shared with me, and things that I saw myself as a little boy, like getting off the sidewalk, not being able to ask anybody. Mm-hmm. Everything was colored. Like I went to West Shreveport Colored Elementary School. Yeah, I was born in Charity Hospital on the colored side in Shreveport.
That's right. That's what I was.
I mean, I know all about
Jacksonville on the colored side. You know, so you have do you have an update about the lawsuit? I mean, I know that it looked like Garland is not moving forward. So, I mean, not moving fast enough. So you have any update about the lawsuit?
No, is this the DOJ complaint?
Yes.
Yeah, well, the complaint, as a matter of fact, for whatever reason, Merrick Garland's people, the Attorney General, sent the complaint to the U.S. Department of Transportation. I'm talking with two members of the Congressional Black Caucus right now, and asking them, how can a discrimination complaint against Black people be sent to a place that controls transportation?
Right.
Because Kristen Clark is Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, highly competent sister. If Mary Garland would let her do her job, we could get justice around here. Right. So I'm actually pushing on a couple of folks. As a matter of fact, Congressman Hank Johnson is one of the people who I'll be resharing the complaint with. He and Congresswoman Maxine Waters seem to be the most interested in this whole thing. And I'm just going to let them know where things are right now. There's been no communication back. We are fortunate to have a couple of contacts within the DOT in the national office. And I know that Bob Armstead has also sent a letter to Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, asking him, please send it back to where it's supposed to go. Because when Black folks are discriminated against, I mean, it's the 9 disparity studies and a private study all saying the same thing. And, you know, all people, all minorities are not treated the same, because right now at Sound Transit, according to Sound Transit's personnel in the Civil Rights Office, white women and Asians are waived out of the program. So that, you know, we consistently say, I'm supporting all people of color and women, you know, because I have a daughter and a wife. I want to make sure they have every opportunity. But on the other hand, when it's just Black folks being discriminated against, it's time to say something. So, right. But, you know, it's really rare because we had 21 individuals or organizations that signed on to that complaint. The NAACP from here, Tacoma, the area president, Gerald Hankerson. We had the Urban League. We just had Bishop Reggie Witherspoon, Pastor Kerry Anderson. Lyle Quassem from the Black Collective, Jonathan Johnson, president of Tacoma NAACP, Carolyn Riley Payne, president of CLN. You would think with these 21 organizations, individuals, and filed by the Washington State Civil Rights Coalition, you would think it would be treated differently. But like a gentleman told me, Eddie Wright, you still Black in America. And I said, you know what? I know I am, but at the same time, I'm gonna fight like hell until I get my rights and the rights for other Black people. So I'm not gonna let that be a barrier, but I should not be expecting immediate response to issues that African descendants of the United States slaves have here. But by having folks like Victoria Woodards over in Mayor Tacoma and things like that, and members of the Black Caucus, it does give me some hope that we do have people at the table who are on the committees who can deliver justice for us. And I'm going to continue to work with them on behalf of my community.
Well, I tell you, it's a good thing that Garland was not appointed to the Supreme Court.
That's what a lot of people are saying right now.
Because he's lackluster. I mean, he's not robust at all. I mean, you know, doesn't seem to want to go after. I mean, the January 6th people and all these places where he sounds like he might be a closet Republican for all I know. But
Well,
Yeah,
you
when that's
had
happening.
that with that new black DA in Manhattan. He had two of the associates resign because he wanted to slow down on going after Donald Trump. And I guess Trump's daughter has been in, and I mean this whole thing with Jared Kushner getting $2 billion from Saudi. It's just and I guess they had plans on building a Trump Tower in Moscow. So I guess maybe that's why the Fox people are still, pushing this whole myth about Russia not being, and if they can't see what Russia is doing to Ukraine, they don't want to see because it's on the news. That dominates the news. And I feel sorry for the people over there. But, well, like I said, I just heard today that coming back to this state, where all the people that were put up in hotels and motels in Olympia and Lacey have been returned back to the street because they said they ran out of money.
I don't
And I
understand
keep thinking,
how to get one out of money is what I don't understand.
well, because once again, you talk about poor people. You can run out of money when you're dealing with poor people. But if you're dealing with somebody that's wealthy, there'll be some kind of proviso, some kind of supplemental legislation to make sure that they continue to get paid. But it's unfortunate because we spend so much money to kill people. And if we could just take 10% and keep them alive, we could deal with the homeless situation. And that can just happen.
I agree with that. I mean, war is what runs the world right now. It's been doing it for a long time. Not the human kindness and compassion. And we're looking at what's happening in Seattle too. But we have to come up with a way. If money could fix this, it would have been fixed, but in Seattle, because there's been money going into this issue ever since Greg Nichols was the mayor. And so it must be another problem that money can't hardly fix, because really the money you spend over, I'm almost sure it's been a couple $1 billion gone in trying to house people in Seattle.
Well, you know what? The thing about it is I haven't seen any housing that's been built for them. That's the problem. You go and rent somebody else's property, then and when but if you own a property and it's for that specific purpose, I mean, it's like when they built the projects. There is no reason in the world why there can't be something developed. There could be. It doesn't have to be in the city. It could be outside of the city. But everybody in the suburb, no, we don't want them around here.
No. Mercer Island voted not to have homeless issues. Not to finance any resources for homeless people. And I think it's for some of those other counties. And the people wind up in Seattle because all the people that's living on the streets are not from Seattle. And that's just it. And then we have some criminal people out there who's criminally insane. We have some predators out there. And then you have all kinds of people out there. So really, it is a dangerous situation for people who are unhoused. And that's the other part of that. I mean, I think we haven't had a plan to bifurcate it. People who's criminally insane might not ever be able to take care of themselves. So what are you going to do with those people? What are you going to do with the predators is out there? I mean, some of those predators need to be arrested because of the things that's happening out there. So it's not a one fix. It's not one way to fix it. I think it's many ways to fix it. But as Seattle becomes more of a renter's town, then the people without who are homeless or the people who don't make a lot of money is going to be in a bad space because Seattle used to be a homeowner's town, but now it's a renter's town, and that makes a difference in their economy. That makes a difference in the power that you have because the landowner has power. The tenants doesn't have that much power. I mean, we do have the tenants a union and that type of thing, but Seattle is a renter city, and every city that becomes a renter city, poor people lose.
Oh, there's no question about it here, because I remember the last time I was in San Francisco, I was also looking at this same homeless issue, and to be honest with you, I saw more Black people who were homeless than but I was downtown. I didn't go to any communities or anything, but significant number of Black folks, and then right now we talk about the gentrification of the CD. The same things happen in Oakland. The same things happen in Los Angeles.
But that comes with technology. The people who bring, technology, people who create technology has brought about gentrification, and it's actually has created more homelessness in all of these cities because most of the property they come in with have a lot more money and all of these things. So this technology industry has brought about a lot of pain and suffering for people who are not in that industry. And someday we're going to have to look at that, because look, they were in San Francisco, and same thing is happening here and all these other places. Because you can only gentrify a community when you got more money than the people in the community. Because if the people in the money was equally yoked with finances, they wouldn't be able to gentrify it, because it's a financial issue. See,
that's exactly why we're promoting, and I'm glad you're on the advisory committee for MLK Gandhi to bring digital technology training to our people in our community. And because once they get it, it's going to spread to their families and their community. And we know how that works. And we have such a small number of Black folks, especially African descendants, who are employed in the technology industry.
That's right.
Now, I understand that through the Office of Minority and Women Business Enterprise, as a matter of fact, it might have been Erin Nielsen that told me when she was at the Department of Enterprise Services, that there are 35 African Americans who are technologically astute enough to have their own companies, which I was unaware of. I want to be drawing on some of these people to assist us with MLK Gandhi to get these new folks up and running at some point in time in the training program, particularly after they receive the basics. And the thing about this technology is, like, Microsoft uses 750,000 subcontractors. So if a brother or sister has had a problem with the law, they still can be a subcontractor working from their home. They won't be sitting about the front door at Microsoft or Facebook, but they'll be getting the same kind of money. So that's, we'll have more information on that. Right now, we had 13 letters of support for to be considered for funding for Congressman Adam Smith's office. They don't make the decision. It goes to a committee, and they got people from all over, including some haters from down south and Eastern Washington and places like that. But once this program is funded, 12 to 14 weeks, people will be prepared. And we will be asking the Microsoft Black employees and the Black Employee Network of Amazon to come in and also act as mentors. And it's the participations by referral only. It's not open to everybody. And we want everybody on the committee that's refers someone, we want them to be there for them.
Right.
And, there will be a stipend of $2,500 a month. We don't want anybody to think about nothing but the training. And there'll also be a food subsistence. And this has been in conjunction with MLK Gandhi. I mean, we look at Microsoft, the chair of the board is Mr. Johnson, who's Black. The CEO is from India. Okay, MLK Gandhi, all over that. And then the vice president for government affairs for Microsoft in Washington, D.C. is Mona Bailey's nephew, Humphreys. And his dad, Thornton Humphreys, played basketball for CLU University, and that's how they got up here in the 50s. Thornton was recruited to play for CLU. So we have some connections, and we're also working with some other folks in the Congressional Black Caucus, and we'll also be working with some of the folks who are Indian American. Indian American. The Indian folks from India who got here now, we're not American citizens, Indian American, not American Indian is Bernie Whitebeard's group. But anyway, so they're committed to making sure that this training happens. They're very high up in the tech companies. And the thing I like about it is that these folks realize that had it not been for Blacks in the civil rights movement, they wouldn't be here.
Right.
And it's like,
I'm sure it's glad some people realize that and recognize it, and want to work with us on that piece, because so many people come and don't recognize that piece.
Yeah.
So
well,
really,
I mean, they're dissuaded from doing that, but
right.
These folks do recognize it. And the fact is that Dr. King did study Gandhi when he was at Morehouse College. Mm-hmm. So
this is a move in the right direction. This is
right. So he knew all about the peaceful, nonviolent, because Gandhi had a checkered past. He was in South Africa. He was hard on Black folks.
Yes, he was.
When they started treating the Indian folks like they treated Black folks, he went back to India and led the Indian Liberation Movement, which was done in 1947. He didn't go to the ceremony, and the next year he was killed assassinated by a Hindu, by one of his own people. So, but Dr. King thought enough for him, he and Mrs. King, Coretta Scott King, to actually go to India and witness what India was like. So,
yeah, well, that's good. I mean, we're working on a lot of fronts because our community needed. And what we need the most is what financial empowerment and financial development be able to make a decent wage, because we know that a decent wage raises the level of living for everybody, whoever, a good job, and really does change the life of a family.
When you don't have affirmative action, when you have affirmative action for 23 years in Washington State, a lot of people interpret that as that you don't have to provide any opportunities for Black folks. And right now, the disparity studies, everything shows that Black folks in this state have been discriminated. African descendants of the United States enslaved have been discriminated against by Washington State, just about by every agency. And because they're saying there's no affirmative action, but even when the federal money, because white women,
that's right, the federal dollars, that's right, the federal dollars.
White women included with DOT money and other federal money through the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, but they've been waived out the program twice. Okay, so
does that mean that they're waived out the program because they're doing financially so well?
Exactly.
Okay. So yeah, but isn't that amazing though? I mean, this system tried to will hinder all Black people from actually getting financial security, and then I mean, it's such a tragedy what has happened here in Seattle, because so many of the houses was lost because people couldn't get good jobs. I mean, or they didn't get, they got fired off these jobs, and then to think that the city of Seattle and the state of Washington was colluding to do this. I mean, for almost 50 years. I mean, it's a tragedy. And, really, and I'm so glad that we're still working on this to be able to bring some kind of justice here for the people in Washington State. But before we leave, I just read in the paper that the Republicans is moving in here fast in Washington State. You got Sinclair and Q13 and Fox here. So if we're not careful in Seattle, in Washington State, because most of that population is in Eastern Washington, but a lot of it now, including some of the police, some of the people who want to make America great working for the Seattle Police Department, I think we're in trouble here if people don't wake up and understand what's happening. Because, I mean, I don't understand why people want restrictive government. I mean, want to have people there who don't believe in rights and privileges for all people. But that's seems to be the way America is going right now. They want to take away all the rights, except for a few people. And I mean, again, they want to go back to segregation years. I mean, and one of those guys down in Florida said that, he thought that it should be against the law for people to mix marriages and stuff. So they absolutely have a plan, and I think we better wake up and understand there's a plan, and we need to wake up and start working harder.
You're absolutely right. We have to outwork everybody. That's what we have to out-organize, outwork, and out-educate.
That's right. And get our kids and get them involved with this, because really and truly, they need to be involved. Well, thank you, Mr. Roth, for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you on, and thank you for the update and all of that. So we'll talk again.
Okay, thank you very much, Harry. Okay.
Yeah. You listen to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Rem Walden. We'll be right back.
Market Street Shoes is happy to sponsor the Mother's Justice Show in honor of our mother, Jackie Higgins Rosebrook, who spent her life fighting for social justice, and also in honor of all mothers who fight for social justice. Market Street Shoes, fashionable footwear and apparel for life's everyday adventures, in the heart of Ballard since 2006. Visit marketstreetshoes.com.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Hi, this is Dr. K. Mahina Intron, inviting you to tune in on Mondays on 1150 KKNW at 5 p.m. to Dr. K's Attuning to Your Abundance. where we honor everyday abundance through positive messages, poetry, music, affirmations, and writing exercises. For more information, contact Dr. K Workshops at gmail.com or Facebook, Dr. K's Abundance.
Talk radio that will get you thinking. Alternative Talk 1150.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It's my joy to be on the air. And my guest that was coming on, she had an emergency to come up, so she couldn't come on. So we were going to be talking about Easter. And so I love Easter. It's springtime. I always had pretty dresses for Easter. And I was raised in the AME church, and we were just going to be reminiscing about what Easter was like in the African-American community in the times when we grew up, because it's different now. We have a lot of people who are unchurched. Of course, when I grew up, it was not a lot of people unchurched. I guess they were scared not to be in the church. But I think that fear has been lifted for the last 25, maybe 30 years. So a lot of people don't go to church. But anyway, I grew up in the African-American Episcopal Church. And I always had lots and lots of pretty dresses for Easter because I'd have to be on the program more than once. So if I was on the program 3 times, I got 3 dresses for Easter. So I always had nice, and I always had my hair done really pretty. My neighbor was my neighbor was a beautician, and so all I'd do is go across my yard, go to the beauty shop. So that was pretty good. But also we were going to be talking about why is Easter always why does the date on Easter changes? And one of the reasons why Easter date changes is because Easter is the first Sunday following the spring equinox and the first full moon. So it actually is based on the lunar calendar. And a lot of people say it was based on the divine feminine, but that's a whole nother discussion. But so that's why it changes. It's based on the lunar calendar, which is every 28-day calendar. And it's the first Sunday after spring equinox, where there's a full moon. And I'm sure you might have seen the full moon on Friday. It was gorgeous. So that's why we have the changes of the Easter date. In that way, and so that was said probably many, many centuries ago, and that probably won't be changing for a while. But who knows? A lot of things are changing in the world. Like I said, a lot of people don't go to church anymore. A lot of people are unchurched, and my friend, my guest that was going to come on, she was raised, I think, in the Catholic Church, and so they have a whole bunch of different rituals down there. Have in the Protestant Church. But I think every culture also has some kind of dyed eggs. I saw that I saw some people's eggs on Facebook that they had dyed, and this was the first year in a long time that I put some eggs out. I got up and I dyed some eggs and kind of made something kind of like pretty. So it's like, oh, okay, let me get up and do something that I know how to do. And I didn't dye a lot of eggs. I dyed about 6 eggs, and I had fun doing that. And then sometimes I think we have to remember things that give us joy, because sometimes we get caught up in all this other stuff that we forget to have joy. And I think we have to find these places in our lives where we can actually anchor joy in our life. And for me, that was one of those places. And I had a cousin that was we were cousins, and so we were always together. And on Easter Sunday we were together. I would go to her house, and then she would walk me back to my house, and I would walk her back to her house. She would walk me back to her house, and back and forth. We did that about an hour before we would say goodbye. And we were always at the church, like I said, not only for Easter, but also for Sunday school. And I think I'd like to talk about this just because it's it was my spiritual background or underpinning that has kind of like guided my life. Going to church and believing and seeing people and seeing people faithful. And that's what Mr. Rye was talking about. How you got to learn it. We've got to continue to organize. But some of these people were people who never stop organizing. And I think that's where we are right now, because we've had like 35 years or 30 years that we stopped organizing. And so other people caught up to us, because before affirmative action, we were organizing all the time. From the 1920s to the late 1970s, we were still organizing. Then when the 80s came along, then we stopped organizing to the level. We organize around police brutality. That's probably the central theme that we organize. But we at one point we was organizing for jobs, about unions and all kinds of things. And so, but to have people who are all the time out in the community organized. Mr. Bass, I think it was Mary Bass's uncle. I think it was Mr. Roscoe Bass. He was always at the school board meetings. He never missed a meeting. And that's the level that it takes to actually get them something done in America. You just don't, it's not one and done. And that's too bad. And I guess the Russians say, we're going to make it one and done. And there's a lot of people in America that wants to have one and done. And those people are continuously organizing. So the only thing I can say to people is that you must wake up to organize and go back to your roots and find some of those places that you can get some strength from. And so to me, and Easter is one of those places. I mean, so it's like a breath of fresh air. It was always warm in Florida in Easter time. And now Christmas, you might not wear your sweaters because it might be you might be warmer in January and December than the clothes you got. So you wouldn't be able to wear all your winter clothes you got for Christmas. But for Easter, the dresses was always nice, and the weather. I don't remember it raining too much on the Easter for me when I was growing up. Like you get rain here in Seattle. No, you're not going to get a lot of rain. And my grandmother was such a great cook. For a long time, we cooked on a wood stove. Yes, that's right. Miss Harriet had to cut wood for a while. We had a wood stove, and my grandmother could really cook on that wood stove. I bet most people they would be at a loss if they had to get up and make a fire in the stove and then get breakfast ready before people go to school. There's probably be a lot of people late. Oh my goodness, if people were cooking on a wood stove, it's like, oh, okay. Oh, you mean to tell me the bus is coming now? Oh, I just put the biscuits in the oven. Oh, okay. So anyway, I mean, things have changed a lot. But the one thing that hasn't changed is that we need to organize. Through all of this, and I learned how to organize actually by being in the African American Episcopal Church. It has such a strong history of being engaged in the Black community. And of course, around the time that Lincoln signed the proclamation of emancipation. I think it's yeah. Sometimes I get it backwards, but it's okay. But I know what it means. And I know when it was. It was January 1st, 1863. So I got that date right. So anyway, it's still a long road to freedom in America for us. A long road, and we have not arrived yet. As Mr. Ryan was talking about the jobs and the discrimination for 27 years for us here in Seattle. In Washington State, no affirmative action. That's the reason why we've lost this, the central area is because people didn't have jobs in the state and the city of Seattle colluded to run us out. So it's a many things that we have gone through, but it's still, for me, it's the anchoring in the church that has given me the strength to move on, to be able to do the work. And sure, that's not the anchoring for a lot of people. Some people went to the union organizing meetings with their family, with their fathers and mothers. And so they're also out there, doing the union organizing. And so I think that people come to this work for different reasons. And it's usually some kind of connection, either for their parents or somebody that they knew when they were growing up, that actually lead people to this work. But again, I just like to be talking about, go back to Easter, because in those days, I mean, my grandmother still made a ham. I mean, I don't eat pork today, but we had a ham, and she liked to make potato salad. And she always made something with sweet potatoes, because we grew our own food. And we had a garden. We had chickens. I was afraid of chickens when you get ready to kill a chicken. The chicken does want to kind of walk around for minutes with the head cut off. I mean, that's true. And I was be afraid of a chicken that was being slaughtered. So I always had to run. I wouldn't stay there to watch that. But it's amazing all the good food that comes from a wood stove. So I'm sure some people out there that might have they might have a wood stove in a cabin, but they're not cooking on a wood stove every day. And I cooked on a wood stove every day for a long time. And I had to go cut wood because there's nobody elderly going to go cut wood. So I had to go cut wood and chop the wood and carry the wood. So all of that so we could have so she could cook. And so that's part of that also that keeps me going, knowing that how to do things. I mean, when you come from that kind of background, you always remember how to get something done, or you can remember how to, if you don't know how to do it, you remember how to access information, because there's always somebody else that knows more than what you do. And that's how I feel about it. There's always people who know more than me. And I just have to be willing to ask for the information, or, gently ask for the information, or sometimes say, sometimes it's not a gentle ask, but usually it should be a gentle ask. But anyway, I just love this time of year because I love spring. I love spring. I love all the different shades of green because I'm an artist. Most people don't know that. I'm a watercolorist. I love green. That's when I first started painting. I started painting with a lot of green because it's such a healing color. It really is. It absolutely heals you. And that's why people talk about going out in nature and that kind of stuff, because you absolutely feel better. I mean, that's one of the cures for depression. Actually, it's just to go, if you can't go very far, you can go to the Arboretum or maybe over to Volunteer Park. And then water is also very good for lifting your spirits. And so you can get by some water and some trees, you're gonna feel better, because that's what nature does. And so this is a good place for you to get out. A lot of people go walking in the rain. I don't think I would be one of those people who would do that, but a lot of people go walking in the rain. I think it's raining right now. So I'm gonna take a break. This is Mother's Justice Show. You listen to Reverend Walden on Mother's Justice Show. We'll be right back.
Market Street Shoes is happy to sponsor the Mother's Justice Show in honor of our mother, Jackie Higgins Rosebrook, who spent her life fighting for social justice, and also in honor of all mothers who fight for social justice. Market Street Shoes, fashionable footwear and apparel for life's everyday adventures, in the heart of Ballard since 2006. Visit marketstreetshoes.com.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW, Alternative Talk Positive. This is Reverend Walden. It's my joy to be on the air. And I like that song. I want to be ready when joy comes back. Because joy is essential to our lives to move forward. Joy keeps away depression. Joy does. There's a lot of things that joy does. Joy and happiness tell our endorphins in our body and our cells that we want to live. So joy is so essential. And a lot of these things that's happening in the world is just to keep people from having joy. So how do you find joy in the midst of sorrow, in the midst of all the other things that's happening in the world? And that's really what maybe the Easter message is also about too, is that, the resurrection and the new life and new hope, that it isn't over yet, that we can begin again. And there's strength in knowing that no matter how sorrowful it is and how bad it is, spring always comes all over the world. Spring always comes. And so that's really why I like that song, because it reminds me that it is important to have joy. And so I like that, because joy keeps me going. And in the midst of doing hard work, in the midst of holding people accountable and trying to do this work, joy is essential. It is essential to have some joy, to spend some time in laughter. Sometimes I've set my timer, laugh for 10 minutes. This is important because it gets you started. So anyway, so I'm joyful right now, and I'm happy to be joyful. So Eric, we were talking a little bit just about Easter. So what's your Easter memories like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a much bigger deal for me when I was a kid than it is now. But, it was great waking up and having that Easter basket, that my mom would put together under the guise of the Easter bunny, and,
right.
And getting that chocolate bunny and, some jelly beans and stuff like that. That was always a lot of fun. And, of course, we'd go to church for Easter Mass, and that would take up, a good portion of the morning. And, we'd do a Easter egg hunt with the family. And so, yeah, we did the whole shebang. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's what mothers do. I mean, some of this is about building memories too, because even though we might walk away or move away from some of our traditions, the memory is there. And just to think about, mothers always make magic. I mean, you will go to bed at night. The night before you sit in, you get up. The table is the eggs is on the table and all of that. And it's so important for whatever your tradition is to have some type of tradition to be able to make happy memories for children, even though when they get to be an adult, they might not practice that, but it always calls up joy, thoughts of happiness. And sometimes those thoughts of happiness would get us through some things that we're going through when we can have some pleasant memories. So that's why I think it's really important to have pleasant memories and to think about that. And of course, it wasn't everybody's way. Some people have always had a hard time. But to be able to have a nice meal on Easter Sunday, and sometimes for me, I was invited over or to my cousin's house, or somebody else came to our house. But a lot of people didn't come to our house because after my grandfather died, it was just me and my grandmother. So, and she was elderly. Hey, I got to be one of those elderly people now. And they call them old in the old days. They call them old folks. So now they got a dressed up term calling them elders. So, but just having those kind of things, and also around Christmas, and those are the things that kind of keep people going when times are hard. That they can think about some good things and good thoughts. And what was your favorite food as a kid?
Favorite food was probably pizza, but I definitely
they didn't have pizza on Easter Sunday.
No, for Easter we usually did a ham.
Right.
And
right.
love that.
Yeah. That was just sort of like universal. Because even in Florida, and we weren't Catholics, we did a ham. whatever it was to go with it. And all of that, of course, like I said earlier, it was cooked in a wood stove.
Yeah. Some potato salad on the side, usually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, hey, you're from the West Coast, and I'm from the
East Coast.
The East Coast, and we was eating similar meals there at Easter times.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty American tradition.
Yeah. And my stepmother, who passed away, bless her heart, died last June, a year ago now, coming up on. All she needed was an excuse for a holiday to make potato salad. If a holiday was coming up, oh, okay, I called her up. Oh, yeah, I just made some potato salad. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, that went with everything. So did you get nice new clothes, shiny clothes, and shiny new shoes and new clothes for Easter?
Not really for Easter. We'd get new clothes for school starting, really. And we'd always have at least one nice outfit for going to church for sure. So
yeah, that's what I always had too. I always had church clothes and play clothes. I don't think my kids got that experience, but I grew up with play clothes and church clothes and school clothes. So clothes I went to school in, I had to come home and change those clothes and put on play clothes.
It makes sense.
Yeah. That's how they did that. I guess it was so the clothes would last longer.
Yep.
I guess that was an economic reason for people being able to do that. So yeah. So I'm glad that we have holidays and reasons for families to come together and stuff like that. I mean, because it's necessary. It really is necessary. And for people who actually are non-religious, and actually this is the first time in a long time you have Ramadan, you had the Jewish holy days, and Easter coming at the same time on the same weekend. So that's interesting because I think Ramadan is still going on. So all of these different religions came together. I mean, the calendar, it was on the calendar at the same time. I thought that was really interesting. I think it happens maybe every 7, maybe every 14 years. I don't know how many years that happens, but every now and then it happens. I think it's a good thing because the whole world is in a celebration. Not they're not Christians, but they still have a celebration, and I think that's wonderful. I've done some parts of Ramadan because I've had some Muslim friends. It's easier to do Ramadan in the winter than it is in the summer because you have to eat before sun up, and then you can't eat until sundown. And so it's easier in the wintertime when they have Ramadan than it is in this time because sun rises early and sunset is late. So that means you have all that in between morning and noon and evening time. It's a fast, So I've done a fast, but not that long. So next week I'm hoping to have some people from Florida because the judge said a judge in Florida just voided the mandate, the mask mandate for the airlines, and I'll have some people on from Florida, and then the Chicago people are having some problems with the consent decree. And building trust in the community with the police, and that's not unusual. So I'm looking forward to have some guests on next week from maybe Florida, and some guests on from Chicago, working on that. And I want to thank you all for listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. It's your host from Walden, and I'll see you next week.